Welcome to Hello Port Hueneme. I'm your host, Tom Dunn, and today we're at the United States Navy CB Museum, as you can see behind me. This is the entrance, and the museum is located at the front entrance of the Ventura County CB base at the Sunkissed Gate. And we're going to do a video tour with the director, and I think you'll find this is just an amazing museum, and the way they put it together is fabulous. Welcome. We're inside the CB Museum, and we are looking now at the CB logo, which is known worldwide, and it follows the CBs everywhere. And I'm going to be joined by Dr. Laura Godfield, and we will be talking about the museum and all the high points. And welcome, Laura.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Come on over, and we'll talk about the museum as we go through it. I'd like for you to just give us a brief how the CB started and how Port Hueneme has ranked in there. How did it become involved, and what's been the history of Port Hueneme?
Hello, Port Hueneme. The CBs were actually started in the aftermath of Pearl Harbor. Prior to that, the United States was already doing construction in the Pacific, but they were using civilian contractors. So once Pearl Harbor happened, they could no longer have civilian contractors in a war zone. And so they came up with the idea of having a militarized construction force. And so the CBs were first authorized in late December 1941, and the first CBs were in the Pacific by January of 1942.
That's quick.
It was very quick. The reason that Port Hueneme is so significant is Port Hueneme was chosen as the Pacific home port of the CBs. The Navy took this property over under eminent domain in 1942, and it became the largest CB base in the entire country. They did training here, they stored supplies here, and so basically all the CBs that were shipping out to the Pacific came through Port Hueneme. And to kind of give you an idea of what that means in numbers, during World War II there were 325,000 CBs, and about 85% of those CBs shipped in and out of Port Hueneme.
Did the Port of Hueneme have a lot to do with the choice of Port Hueneme?
The port itself was probably, that's the prime piece of this whole property. It's the largest deepwater port between Los Angeles and San Francisco, so it was a place that they knew that they could bring the ships in and get them back out. The other benefit of this area is it has so much layout property, and so as I often tell people, there were no Home Depots in the middle of the Pacific, and so they had to somehow have advanced base depots where they could have all those supplies. And so this base was effectively a place where they could lay out dozers, Quonset hut pieces, everything, and then ship them out to the Pacific along with personnel.
Port Hueneme means a lot to me because I was stationed here as a CB in 1968. Now, I don't know a screwdriver from a hammer. That's why they put me in the office to write and be a clerk. But it was totally different. I don't remember a thing that I see now. And when we go through the museum, I'm sure I'll see stuff that I don't remember, or stuff that is just mind-boggling, and how much they did and what they had to transport around the world to get ahead of the forces wherever they were. So, if you're ready, we'll go and take a tour.
Let's do it.
My gosh, what is that?
This is one of our biggest pieces in our collection. This is a MRAP, which stands for Mine Resistant Ambush Protected Vehicle.
Wow.
These were used predominantly the past 15 years or so. In the post-Cold War era, the CBs became involved in a lot of convoys. They were responsible for not only maintaining the equipment, but also running things back and forth. So when the U.S. got involved in the Iraqi and Afghani conflicts in the early 2000s, the CBs were running convoys, but they were driving Humvees. And of course, one of the issues with Humvees is they could be blown up with ordnance that was in the ground. So CBs actually very early on started doing something called the CB Garage, where they were armoring their own vehicles. But very soon the Department of Defense realized that they had to do this professionally, and so thus the MRAP was born. It has a special V-shaped hull,
Which deflects everything.
and not to mention It's very thickly armored. As you can see, the glass is incredibly thick, and so it protects the people who are running these convoys. This particular MRAP is significant because it actually saved a group of CBs in 2013 that were running a convoy in Afghanistan. It was actually hit by a rocket-propelled grenade. It actually went through the entire MRAP, but the CBs who were inside survived.
Wow. Do you have any idea how much that weighs?
Let's look right here. I probably do. Her name is Natasha, and she weighs roughly 32,000 pounds.
15 tons.
Yes.
And what do you get? You get a
You
MRAP.
get this. You get this.
That is fabulous. Okay.
And you can see right here the V shape that helps to deflect the.
From going up into the cabin where the
Exactly.
CBs are. Wow, this is amazing. All right, let's move on. Now standing in front of the CB Theater. That is quite a marquee. How did that come about, Laura?
This marquee is actually a local marquee. It came from Ventura. It was the Mayfair Theater that was built in Ventura in the late 1940s. And long story short, the marquee was abandoned. The theater was torn down, the marquee was abandoned, and the museum was lucky enough to get this and have it restored back to its incredible glory. And the reason it's so significant is not only as a piece of local history, both for the entire local area, but I think it really transports visitors back to World War II. This is the National CB Museum, and we tell that story of the CBs from World War II to present. And so we try very hard to make people understand that the CBs have existed through long periods of time.
So there are films in there of the CBs from day one until recently, is that correct?
Correct. We have an extensive archive. We have about 2,500 films in our collection, and we play different films at different times. Most of the time it's just the regular introductory film that's playing, but sometimes we also feature Fighting CBs starring John Wayne in South Pacific.
That reminds me when I used to go as a kid to movies and it was a dime. Big change. Let's go ahead and look at some of the posters and stuff you have that reflects the time period that we're talking about. Well, here we are in the lobby that you mentioned reflected the CBs from day one, and the CBs were featured in movies, even with John Wayne. And here's a picture of him and the flashing lights. That's so era. It defines an era when the CBs were formed and what they did. Do you have any little stories behind these?
Well, the Fighting CBs movie starring John Wayne really made the CBs a household name during the 1940s, and it was actually filmed here on this base and over at Point Mugu, and this is actually one of the props from that movie that we've recently found in our collection.
Oh, wow.
And so this is what John Wayne stood in front of when he was standing in his office in the movie.
Wow, there's so much treasure here. It really is. Let's continue our tour, and we're going to find more. Well, I see in this hallway we have recruiting pictures and movie posters, and really it gives you the feeling that it's really a theater, you know, and it's like walking into an old-time theater. It's fabulous.
We try to take our visitors back to World War II.
Well, you've done a great job of that. And this is your theater. Let's take a look. Well, here's the theater. Come on in, and why don't you tell us a little bit about the inside of the theater and a couple of the movies that you show.
This is our theater. We play different types of movies. Right now we're showing actually a World War II era film that shows CBs in the Pacific doing construction. And what's interesting is this film specifically is narrated by Admiral Ben Morrell, who was the father of the CBs.
All right, Laura. Wow, another big room. This is really amazing. What is all of this?
This is our iconic CB. The CBs were first created during World War II. They were considered a temporary part of the Navy. So they had regular Navy rates, and there was nothing that differentiated them. So originally, they wore the letter CB on their uniforms to differentiate that they were in a construction battalion. By late 1942, an artist named Frank Iafredi came up with this logo, if you will. He's a bee. He's carrying a machine gun so that he can protect himself. and he's carrying tools so that he can build, which goes along with the CB motto, we build, we fight.
How unique and original.
What's interesting also is that there are many versions of the bee. The bee that you see here, the big wooden bee, is pretty much the traditional bee. But you can see these bees on the wall, many of them are World War II era bees, some of them are more contemporary, but there are many different versions.
Wow, that is, each unit gets to distinguish themselves the way they want it to.
Yes and no, yes and no. Every CB wears the traditional bee on their uniform, but in terms of kind of their own pop culture and that type of thing, they have their own identity.
And who they are.
Exactly.
What are these songs up here?
The Song of the Seabees. Like any other good military force, the Seabees have their own song. The Song of the Seabees is sung at every CB function. Pretty much anytime you have more than 2 or 3 Seabees in one place, they sing the song.
Would you care to sing a bar or two?
We're the Seabees of the Navy. We can build and we can fight. We'll pave the way to victory and guard it day and night.
Wow. That was impromptu. I had not even thought of it or asked her to prep for this. I am so proud of you. That is a great ending to explaining the mascot and how what it meant to the CB.